Welcome to my channel. I'm Scott, and if you want to catch my newest video, I post one every day. In this video, I am going to walk you through the process of valuing Lumentum Holdings stock by analyzing their financial statements and dissecting their financial ratios, so we can determine if it's a buy or a sell. There was a company called JDS Uniphase. It designed and manufactured products for optical communication networks and measurement equipment. In 2015, JDSU split into two separate companies, Viavi Solutions and Lumentum Holdings. We're going to look at Lumentum Holdings today. Lumentum is a manufacturer of innovative optical and photonic products. Its optical components and subsystems are part of every type of telecom, enterprise, and data center network. The company operates in two segments, optical communications and commercial lasers. Optical communications offers components, modules, and subsystems that enable the transmission and transport of video, audio, and data over fiber optic cables. Let's get started with the model. This is a mid-cap company, $7 billion market cap. They're trading at $94 a share, and they have 76 million shares outstanding. Let's look at their financials. The way you value a company is you estimate the free cash flows into the future, and then you discount those numbers back to today's value. That's what we're doing in this video. Free cash flow is cash flow from operations minus capital expenditures. So you can see the company has positive and growing free cash flow each year. Net income is the profit and loss on the income statement. It's revenue minus expenses. And they have positive net income, then negative, then positive, then negative. Revenue is a sales for the company, and that grows at a nice rate each year. This is the company's income statement. The top line is the revenue, the sales. Below that is the cost of revenue. Examples are cost of labor and cost of materials. The difference between those two numbers is their gross profit, and that seems to be growing each year. Then below that is their operating expenses. Examples are research and development and marketing expenses. Then below that is operating income, and they do have positive operating income each year. Below that is the interest they pay in their debt. Then there's other income and expenses. This is usually impairments or other non-cash gains and losses. Then their pre-tax income, then their taxes. So the company did have negative net income in the trailing 12 months and in 2019. They had positive in 2020 and 2018. When you invest in a company, I would focus on operating income when looking at the income statement, because the stuff below that is not part of their operational business, so it can really skew the numbers. This is the company's statement of cash flows. The top line is operating cash flow. That's how much cash the company generates from its operational business. Then you have capital expenditures, which are investments in property, plant, and equipment. Operating cash flow minus CapEx gives you your free cash flow. And this company does generate positive free cash flow every year. If a company generates positive free cash flow, it makes it a lot easier for them to pay a dividend, buy back stock, pay down debt, or invest back into their business to grow it. They did buy back $200 million of stock in 2020. When a company buys back stock, it decreases the shares outstanding, which makes the remaining shares more valuable. They seem to be investing a lot back into their business to grow it, so they're taking on a lot of debt. They took on $500 million in 2019 and $1 billion in 2020, but they paid down $500 million in 2020, which means they added $500 million of debt in 2020. The most important part of any business is their operating cash flow. If you cannot generate positive operating cash flow at some point, you don't have much of a business. And this company generates positive operating cash flow each year. Net income is the company's accounting profit and loss. Net income is not actual cash. You could think of operating cash flow as net income converted to cash. And the way you calculate operating cash flow, you start with net income that was negative $3 million. Then you have to add back the non-cash items on the income statement. They had $200 million of depreciation, $67 million of stock-based compensation, and a $22 million asset impairment. An asset impairment is when you decrease the value of an asset on your balance sheet and pass through the loss onto your income statement. So it brings down your net income, but it's a non-cash item, so it doesn't affect cash flow. So even though the company reported a $3 million loss, they actually generated $420 million from their operational business. Let's look at their capital structure. $1.7 billion of equity, $1.2 billion of debt. They're 60% equity, 40% debt. And their net debt is negative $365 million, which means they could pay off all the debt with their cash on their balance sheet and still have over $300 million of cash left over. And their WACC is 9.3%, and that's a discount rate we're going to apply to the future cash flows. We estimated 4 years of future free cash flows. We also estimated a terminal value, which is all cash flows past year 4, that's $14 billion. We discounted those numbers back to today using a weighted average cost of capital. We get a value of the company of $12 billion. We divide that by 76 million shares. And we get a calculated stock price of $156. They're trading at 94, so they're trading at a 40% discount. It's a buy according to the model. Simply Wall Street is even higher than me. They're at $196 a share. This is the stock price the last 5 years. It looks like it's done really well. It seems to be going up little by little as time goes on. It seems like wherever you bought the stock at, you would have made a positive return as long as you held it for at least 1 month. They have a beta of 1.04, so the stock moves with the market. The stock has gone up 11% in the past 52 weeks, which is worse than the S&P 500, which went up 17%. The 52-week low was 59, the high was 112. And the stock is trading below its 50-day moving average, but above its 200-day moving average. About 1.5 to 2.5 million shares are traded each day on this stock. And of the 76 million shares outstanding, 75 million are on float, 96% are held by institutions, and it has a pretty high short percentage. 15% of the shares on float are shorted. If you invested $10,000 into this company in 2015 when it IPO'd, you would have made more than 5 times your money. Your $10,000 would have been $55,000 today. That's a great return on investment. Wellington is the biggest shareholder at 12%, then Vanguard, then BlackRock, then BNY Mellon, then Neuberger Berman. Let's look at their financial ratios. The average PE in the market's 9, the median is 14. PE is stock price over earnings per share. To calculate earnings per share, that's net income over shares outstanding. They have negative net income, so they have negative PE. When a company has negative PE, you look to the price to sales ratio. Price to sales is stock price over sales per share. They're at 4.1. Investors are paying $4.10 for $1 revenue. That's a great price to sales ratio. Price to book is stock price over book value per share. They're at 4.1, which is a great ratio. And the way you calculate book value per share, it's equity over shares outstanding. Equity is assets minus liabilities on the balance sheet, and they have $1.7 billion of equity, $1.1 billion of tangible equity, since they have $700 million of intangible assets on their balance sheet. Interest coverage ratio is EBIT over interest expense. They can cover their interest payments almost 2 times. ROE is net income over equity. They have negative net income, so they have negative ROE. Current ratio is current assets over current liabilities. They have way more than enough current assets to cover their current liabilities. And their current assets are $1.6 billion of cash, $200 million of receivables, and $200 million of inventory. So the company is well capitalized. They had over $400 million of free cash flow, and they have $1.8 billion of working capital. So they have $2.2 billion of funding. The best way to look at ratios to compare them is similar companies. I've done videos on Ciena, Ceragon, Cisco, Ericsson, Hewlett-Packard, Motorola, and Nokia, all in the same industry as Lumentum. And if Lumentum has a number in red, they're worse than the average. If they have a number in green, they're better than the average. So they're worse than PE. They do have a good price to sales, but that's worse than the average in the industry. The average price to book is negative. They're positive. They have a really high current ratio. They do have a negative ROE, but it rounds to 0%. They have 40% debt, which is average, and their market cap is less than average. They're $7 billion, average is $42 billion, and they don't pay a dividend. So to summarize, I have them trading at a 40% discount. The company seems to be growing at a nice pace. Their products are used all around the world. I rank their free cash flow 7 out of 10. It tripled from 2019 to 2020, and I rank their ratios 5 out of 10. They do have a good price to sales and price to book, but they still have negative earnings, so they have negative PE and no ROE. So let me know what you think. Give this video a like, subscribe, or comment below. Also, if you'd like to get a custom valuation or just support the channel, you can become a member by clicking on the link in the description below. Thanks for watching.